Hi, I'm Mel,
And I'm Janelle.
and this is the Murder Mamas.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
I don't know why you said ready, and then I was also still surprised when you said your name.
That's pretty much every time.
I don't know why.
Because you're staring at your phone.
Am I always?
Yes,
Oh,
always.
it's like a habit. I was looking up sugaring.
Oh, yes. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the new Netflix series, Who Killed JonBenet Ramsey? There's been a lot of different ones, but this is the brand new one that came out on Netflix. I don't know, like a week ago, maybe?
I think so.
Something like that. So there's 3 episodes. I think I named like one of them and then I didn't know what the other 2 were called. So we'll see. Here we go. So the first episode is called Keep Your Babies Close. And it starts with news video of like what's going on in Colorado at that time about the kidnapping. And then we have tons and tons and tons of clips of pageant movies, which is so disturbing to me. I just don't understand that culture. I was telling Auntie over dinner tonight that I took Avery to her gymnastics class once and I didn't put shorts over her leotard. And I felt like the worst mom ever. I was like, oh, this is really bad. I can't do this.
Really?
Yeah, like it made me self-conscious for her. Like, and I know gymnasts do it, like they do it and everything, but like she's so little, it just feels inappropriate to me. I don't know. And then to have her like dressed up, I'm like, no, that's that absolutely no for me.
Okay, so I get that, and I get what you're saying, but I also, as a non-pedophile, I don't think there's anything inherently like sexual
No, I don't
about
think so
a
either.
small child's body.
Oh, yeah, no, for
Like
sure.
I get wanting to cover them,
Yeah.
and like not doing that because there are gross people.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Part of me is like,
I mean, it's like a bathing suit.
what does it matter?
Yeah,
You know,
don't
like
cover her up in a bathing suit. So,
yeah.
but it just, I don't know. I guess it's the fact that like it's a pageant, so you have lots of people looking at them, like staring at them on stage, and it just
You know
grosses
what's
me out.
wild to me is that Toddlers and Tiaras was a fucking show on TLC.
I don't
Like,
understand. Yeah, that brought nothing to society.
what? Why?
I don't know. They are too small.
Too small. I agree.
Yeah. So we start off and it says it's the morning after Christmas and a call to the police goes out at 5:52 a.m. and it's Patsy saying that her daughter has been kidnapped. And then we kind of like that's like the beginning and then we kind of jump around again. So they tell us, I don't know, should we say it in order or like
I think anyone knows this case,
Yeah.
and there's not a lot to like.
Okay.
If you live
Yeah.
on a different planet
Yeah.
since 1996, like maybe you've never heard of JonBenet, but like
Okay. So I'm just gonna go through with my notes of like
because we're
what
talking
happened.
about the documentary.
Yeah. Okay. So then John comes on the screen and her dad, her dad. He comes on the screen and says that he's planning to leave on the 26th and fly to, what is it, Georgia? To have another Christmas with his older children. And this is the day that Patsy calls 911. So he was going to try and fly out later that day. That feels very weird to me, that he would get on a plane and leave. Right?
That's very strange.
If my daughter was found dead, I would want to be with her and find out who the fuck did that.
Wait, I don't.
Am I missing that?
I have no idea. I don't recall that at all.
No? Okay, well.
No, what did it? It was like from past back then, or was it current, John?
It was current John telling us that he was going to do that.
Oh, maybe I like.
Yeah.
was looking at my phone during that
I think
bit.
he was just like saying that they were planning on doing that
Okay, so maybe that was the plan
before.
before.
Maybe that.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a ton more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I got it. Yeah. So and then he's still being interviewed, and he says he hears Patsy scream, and she found a ransom note in the kitchen area,
Mm-hmm.
and there was paper. There was also paper, or no, it was lying by the stairs. I think the note was lying by the stairs.
Yeah, like that swirly staircase.
Yeah, that's what. And their house is very confusing. Like you have to look up the
Floor plan.
floor plan. It's like a very confusing house. I don't know. It's really weird. I was like, I could not handle that house. That would be too much for my brain to handle. So he hears Patsy scream.
Okay. The letter says, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We're a group of individuals that represent a small foreign something. I can't make out the word. Faction, maybe? We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery and hence a earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be different. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory, SBTC.
Okay, so that letter is like 500 words too long, for one thing. It just goes to explain, I don't understand. And the letter is in very distinct handwriting. It's not like, I think, it's not like a scribble. It's not neatly written, but it's like the handwriting. I'll post a picture of the letter. And like you can tell, it's like, it's pretty distinct handwriting. Also, the $118,000 that they asked for was John's bonus, Christmas bonus. It was like $326 or something, and they asked for $118,000 in the ransom.
Yeah, what an interesting amount.
The amount is really weird.
So the amount immediately stands up to me as like such a random amount.
Yeah, like they were saying 120, 150, 200.
100.
100, yeah.
Like a very even, rounded 0.5 number would make so much more sense.
Yeah.
But 118. I was like, what the fuck did John Ramsey do? Did I miss what his job was?
What did I forget what he did, but yeah. Well, I mean, look at the house they were living. It was like a 6,000 square feet house in Colorado.
Oh, I guess like it doesn't look good to me.
Well, no,
Because it has that swirly staircase into the kitchen.
No, it's not. I don't like the house or the layout of it, but it's a big house.
Yeah.
In Boulder, so that's expensive. I don't know.
118,000?
I know. That's a nice bonus.
That's a nice salary.
That's true. So then they go into interviewing Burke. They show him. They don't talk a lot about Burke in this one, which I find a little odd. But so it goes to him being interviewed. He's 9 years old at the time. And he's like sitting in a chair with his legs up and like totally not what I would think a child would be doing while interviewing. Or maybe he just doesn't give a shit. I don't know. Do you remember the way he was sitting?
Yeah,
like he was like up like this, just like leaning against his chair with his feet up. And
I think what struck me about Burke's interview is the lack of like concern.
Yeah,
I think that might be the best word.
He was very comfortable sitting.
Like relaxed.
Relaxed, yes.
Very relaxed, where I imagine, like I try to put, not all the time, but like I try to put my kids in those shoes. So I'm thinking like, if we woke up and Bo was just gone.
Yeah.
I think Blake would be an absolute wreck.
Yeah, right.
Like stressed.
Yeah.
Panicky. Like,
yes.
I mean, he cried when we lost him at the water park. Like,
yeah, no, for sure. Like, and he's very calm and
very, very comfortable.
Yeah. And so during this time, Patsy called her friends from the night before to come over and console her, or I don't know what. Like, that seems weird because now it's considered a crime scene, I would think. Like, I don't know. So the couple comes back over.
I mean, I know that, like, we don't believe a ransom note, but, like,
yeah,
the immediate phone call to the police feels weird too. I don't know. I guess it looks worse if you don't call them.
Right.
But, like, hey, we're going to kill your daughter if you call the police.
Right.
And then just, like, help.
Yeah.
I found this note.
Yeah. It's really weird. And then we meet Bob. He's a cop.
Bob.
I didn't do last name. Sorry. And he says it's very rare case. Like during this time in Boulder, Colorado, they didn't have like any murders that whole year until December 25th or 26th. So like that's really random. They got 2 detectives to respond, and they sent Burke to a friend's house so he wouldn't be razzled, which I think is fine. Like that part I understand.
Absolutely.
Like get him out of the way. He doesn't need to be here.
Absolutely.
So December 26th, they searched the house. It's a 6,500 square foot house. 3 levels with another level of just the master bedroom. And it's on the opposite side of the house where JonBenet's bedroom would be. And hers is on the lower level. So, like, it would be hard to hear
Correct.
anything from the master bedroom coming from JonBenet's bedroom. Right. Yeah. And but the below main level, there's the living room and the kitchen. And below that is the basement that is where JonBenet was found.
That is what also strikes me. Like, the whole time, she was just in the basement.
Right.
So, like, they found this note, they're calling the police, and they, like, don't look through the house anymore.
Yeah, I find that strange. I would be opening all the closet doors, looking under the beds, looking I mean, we don't have a basement, but you're sure shit we have an attic. I'd go up there and look.
Yeah.
Like I'd look everywhere.
I would look in every area of my home.
Just like I do with my dog when he doesn't come to greet me. I'm like, where the fuck's my dog? Here we go.
Or like when my cat goes missing.
Yeah.
During a Halloween party.
Yeah. It's frightening.
Yeah, like I don't know, like that mindset to me where you're just gonna like find the note, call the police and be like, oh, okay, I guess we'll just sit here.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Like, I would continue to search.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Especially a 65. That's a big house to search.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of places that
But
I could hide.
it wasn't like she was found like deep in the basement or like
Right.
hidden in the basement. Like, my understanding, it's
Right
pretty
there. He
close
opened the
to the
door.
stairs.
Yeah.
Like, it was literally like, oh, let's check here.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I I struggle. That is one piece of this case that I always am like,
Yeah. It's really weird. Well,
you
this whole thing is weird.
you didn't look
Right there.
right. Like, where did you look?
Right.
Like her bedroom and then
And that's it.
the kitchen, and you were
Yeah.
like, oh, well, I guess they took her.
Yep. Yeah. At 9:15, an officer collects the note and asks for handwriting samples, and they get an expert in there, and he thinks that it looks like Patsy's handwriting.
Yeah.
But then they have other people look at it, like four other handwriting experts, and they think it doesn't look like her handwriting, which is weird. It looks like it was written from a pad that came from the Ramsey house. Mm-hmm. And like they said in there, they said, like if somebody had come home or come there before the Patsy's got home from their Christmas party.
The Ramseys.
The Ramseys, did I say the Patsy's? The Ramseys Christmas party, he could have been in the office, in John's office, where the notepad was, and looked around and then maybe saw evidence of the $118,000 bonus. So that's where he came up with the number. This is what the detectives are kind of like, this could have happened.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. It could have.
It could have. That's like one little possibility that they're thinking at the time. Like, oh, well, maybe that's what happened.
Yeah.
The note, they say, was not truly a kidnapping note. It was just a rambling of things.
It was very weird. It was like it wasn't just one person. It's this coalition of people who, and like, respect. I also find it very interesting. They're like, I respect what you do, John, but not the country you work. Like,
what?
Huh?
Yeah, it's really weird.
What do you know about John?
Yeah. Why didn't you kidnap John?
John's the one with access to his bank account.
Right?
Hold a gun to his head. Make him take some money out of the ATM
Seriously.
for you.
Oh, God. So they mentioned that they were going to get a phone call between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m., which never came. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
By 1 p.m., one of the detectives was like, hey, why don't you, John, and your friend that he was with, go search the house and see what you can find. And John walks directly into the basement, opens the door, and she's lying right there.
Why didn't the detective search the house? Like,
he told John to go search the house.
I understand that,
yeah.
but I'm saying, like,
yeah,
why didn't anyone else?
Correct.
Like, we have this missing girl, maybe ransom. Like, okay, well, now this is a crime scene. Let's look at the fucking house.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. And there was a suitcase that was laying by the window, because I guess, like, the window, if you just walk up to it, it would be hard to get in and out of that window. You'd have to put, like, a step stool there to, like, hoist your way in. The window was open a little bit.
Well, that's because Pat opened it because the window broke.
But the window broke a couple months before.
Oh, not Pat, John.
John. It had broken a couple months before, and they never got it fixed. So convenient that that's X'd out.
Sir, you have you get $118,000 bonuses. Like, you can't call someone a locksmith to put a lock on a window.
Seriously.
Anyways.
Okay. So he found her and tape was over her mouth. He pulled the tape off of her mouth, which, again, you're a parent, you see your child, you're going to try and help them. Correct. I don't know what I would do, but he shouldn't do that. Don't do that.
Well, I mean, I'm not even going to say don't do that, but he shouldn't have been the one searching the house.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. And her hands were tied, and he said he could not get the knot off. So it was tied in a way where it was like, an actual knot.
Yeah.
That was hard to remove. Then he carried her upstairs, and that's when the cops pronounced her dead.
I don't want to be mean, but like, if you have any sort of knowledge about like anything, why would you completely disturb a crime scene when the evidence could help find who did that to your daughter?
Yes.
You know what I like?
Yes.
I can empathize and understand, like, seeing
Sure.
your child that way would be very highly emotional, and
Sure.
maybe you're not thinking clearly, which again is why he shouldn't have been the one searching, but
Right.
hey, what do I know?
Yep.
But like, you just destroyed a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you destroyed the position she was found in, which could be helpful in finding clues. Like, you destroyed so much evidence.
Yeah.
And my big question is WHY?
That is a good question.
Like, is it a logical, sorry, is it
That's
just
okay.
like your lizard brain takes over and you're like, I need to pick her
Right.
up? Like, is it that, or is it intentional?
Yeah. So then we move on to 9 p.m. and we meet an investigative journalist, Charlie. And he's like waiting for communication so he can print something. And what?
Nothing. Just
I
going.
thought you were like, stop.
No, keep going. My hands are green from this wrapper.
And so they were not given a name or an age of the victim. No friends would talk. And so the guy's just kind of hanging around trying to figure out what's happening. And he comes, like, he writes things about them later. And then we meet John.
Can I mention one thing
Yeah.
I really sometimes don't love in these cases is like when they bring these media people in, like these reporters.
Yeah.
Who are like, it was the case of a lifetime.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't want to listen to you.
No, I want to listen to the detectives.
Yeah, like, I'm not super interested in how you reported the information you got from the police. Like,
Right.
I'd rather just hear what the police said.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Same. Yeah. And then we meet John, his older, John Ramsey's older son, John Jr., I guess, I don't know. And he's just telling the camera, like, we were a perfectly normal family. Like, nothing was wrong. Everybody got along. John is from a previous marriage. And so, like, he's just like, I don't understand why everybody's so upset over this case, or like why we went national and all this kind of stuff. And 1980, Beth, John's other older daughter, was killed in a car accident. And so that's kind of a lot for him, I think. So now he's got two daughters that have been killed. And we learn that Patsy comes down with cancer in 1993.
Yeah, she has cervical cancer?
Yeah, or breast. Cervical? I don't know. I forget.
Is it breast cancer?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Shoot.
Yeah. Then we move on to they're talking about the autopsy, and the cops are saying, like, this was a hardcore murder. Like, there was nothing, like, there was a cord that was tied to her wrist, and the same cord was tied around her neck, and it made an indent in her neck.
No, it was embedded.
Embedded, yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Not an indent.
Embedded into her neck. So it was hard, like, strangle.
Well, and it was the type of wire that it was, because it's like a Garrett's wire.
Yeah.
And so it, like, you, like, fasten it and then crank sort of.
Yeah. So
and
it's,
like, embedded.
hardcore. Like, not a very good way to go.
Okay, well, I'm going to say there's not a lot of good ways to go.
Well, no.
When you're being murdered.
Yeah. There were red marks on her throat and fingers, and she had been hit over the head with something, and they found a flashlight in the kitchen, and they were thinking maybe that may have been what hit her.
Mm-hmm. It was like one of the big, like, Maglite ones.
Yeah,
like the heavy metal ones.
The heavy ones.
Yeah.
She also had two distinct marks on her back, red marks, which they mentioned it could have been from a stun gun.
Yeah, like a taser.
Or taser, or it could have been from, like, the railroad tracks. train track things
Okay.
what's the boy's name? Burke. Burke's playset. So I don't know. I don't think they ever figured out what that was.
Yeah.
It was just mentioned, and you can see it's clear. They have pictures. There's just two dots, and it kind of does look like a taser, or it could be.
Yeah.
But like, who had a taser? Does anyone in the family? We never figured that out. I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm not meaning that flippantly. I'm meaning like the police act like,
Right.
Whatever.
And then we find out that she was also sexually assaulted with a paintbrush handle. Now, here's the thing about what I think about this. Sexual assault of a little girl, I don't think a grown-ass man would put a paintbrush in her vagina. I find that that would be a curious thing that a child might do. A grown man would either rape her or put fingers in her. They're not going to pull a paintbrush that they find laying around and stick it in her. I just don't think that's what grown men would do. My opinion. Maybe, but it feels more like a kid trying to explore.
I can see that.
Can you? For a man?
I mean, I can see both ways. Like, I could see a kid being like a brother being like, JonBenet, put this up your
Yeah.
hoo-han.
Yeah.
See what happens. You know, like, I don't know. Like, I can understand, like, the curiosity aspect
That's
of
what
it,
I meant, like the curiosity thing.
but I don't know that the strength it would take to embed that wire. Like, I don't believe that that was a child.
No?
Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
that's
That
true.
is...
That's pretty hardcore.
Like, that, first, the knowledge of that is really hardcore. And
Yeah.
we're, like, this is 1996. It's not like Burke is spending all this time on a computer, like, Googling, how do I make this wire? Like, there's no knowledge there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Like, the knowledge of that,
Yeah.
how to complete that,
Yeah.
would be really hard for a 9-year-old
That's
to
true.
have.
That's true.
And then you have to think, like, body-wise, like, that would be extremely difficult for just the sheer amount of force.
Yeah.
So that, but like, my other thought on this is, how do they know when the sexual assault occurred?
Right. They don't.
Like, could Burke and JonBenet had been exploring and curious the day before?
Right.
Or the night of, like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I get it. So we moved to December 29th, and there have been no arrests. The police, they say the police thought, they started to think that maybe they should have done things a little differently when they first got there. They're like, maybe we should have, like, I don't know, gotten everybody out of the house and searched it and closed it off and found different things.
It's almost like
yeah.
hindsight.
Yeah. And then he mentioned again that in Boulder, that was the first murder that year. And that was so they almost went a full year without a murder. So this is not taken lightly. December 31st, the Ramseys hired a lawyer, and they will not talk to the cops. They will do interviews with news stations, but they will not do interviews with the cops. Why can't the cops force them to do that? I don't know, because they lawyered up?
Because they lawyered up. Well, and you have to have, like, they have to have a reasonable suspicion to bring them in. I think being unwilling completely doesn't serve in your best interest.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not true. You shouldn't talk to the cops.
No.
Especially if they're suspecting you and you have money and you're wealthy.
But, I mean, then don't talk to news either. Don't talk to anybody.
I think the kind of people who put their kids in pageants are the kind of people who like attention, whether negative or positive.
Yeah. And during
nicest way I could have
I guess. During one of the interviews, you can look at Patsy, and she's been, like, totally medicated. She's slurring her words. Her eyes, she can barely keep them open. Like, she was on. So that makes me feel like she's a grieving mother. Because I feel like I would have to be put on a lot of medication if one of my kids was killed.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't think there's anything. nefarious about that.
I'm going to be completely honest. I don't want to make judgments of how anyone grieves.
No.
I think we are all really complex people.
Sure.
With complex emotions.
Yeah.
And there is not a blanket standard formula that says you should grieve in this manner.
Yeah.
So I don't.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong. I would feel like that's what I would do, or that's how I would probably be if one of my kids was killed.
Unless you're Casey Anthony.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only one where I'm like, you shouldn't grieve that way.
Yeah, that one's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, so many, I feel like we've done so many cases where like was it Darla Routier, the mother whose sons were murdered in Dallas? Like, and she's at their grave. I mean, it was their birthday. Like, how can you tell this woman whether she can or cannot maybe feel a spark of joy?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. I don't think that that's anyone's place.
No, it's not. I agree. So even then, as they're doing these interviews, even the mayor came out and said he was like against the Ramseys. I was like, when your mayor comes out against you, like that's really fucked up. Okay, so January 15th,
The mayor said, fuck you too.
Fuck you too. On January 15th, 1997, DNA testing was done. DNA from under JonBenet's fingernails and of her underwear, and none of the DNA that was found on JonBenet matched the family. Here's where I'm like, It was Christmas. They were opening presents. I'm sure they were hugging each other. There had to have been DNA from the family on JonBenet. I can't believe that there's no DNA found unless she was washed. That just seems really weird. Like Christmas morning, what are you doing? You're unwrapping the presents with your kids. You're showing them the new toys that they got. You're touching, you're hugging.
They go, hold on. Here's
what?
I'm going to shatter that. It's because they went to a Christmas party.
Right.
And then they got back around, I think it was like 9:30 or 10. Like,
did they bathe her?
I mean, they could have.
Yeah.
That's certainly reasonable to be
is.
like, let's take a bath before you go to bed.
Right.
That's not something I would do.
No, go to bed.
Scram. But like,
yeah,
I could see that being a reasonable thing. Like, hey, let's.
But then even so, she's 6. Like my daughter's 8, and I still have to help her take a shower because she doesn't wash her hair good enough. So like my DNA would be on her even after the shower, I would think.
Okay, but I also sort of interpreted that as like they ruled out like the DNA was what was your sentence? It was that there was no
DNA
familial
DNA under her fingertips or in her underwear.
Well,
under her underwear,
I think
yes,
that would make sense. But also in her fingertips, I think that would also make sense. Because if you're helping her wash her hair, she's not scratching.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you're putting your hand.
Right.
So yeah. I don't know. I
don't know. So then we get back to the window. So the cops are like doing their thing.
And the cops really don't believe that someone could go down that window.
No.
They have a hard time with that window.
They do. And John actually went down the window himself to show them that they could get down.
The hard part of the window for me is that when you look at that space, there's like a storm grate that you have to lift up and then you can see the window.
Right.
So I'm like, someone really unfamiliar with this house would not, like, it doesn't seem intuitive.
No, you wouldn't go do that.
And like, are you going to be poking around literally? Like,
yeah, that's weird.
How much time are you going to spend there?
Right.
So I don't know that I...
Yeah. Well, and they were saying there were no footprints in the snow, but there was no snow that day. So like... What?
There was no snow that night?
No.
Oh.
It was like a little bit icy, but there was no snow. Anyway. Oh, so then they talk about what we talked about earlier was someone may have gone up into the house and waited for the Ramseys to get home.
Yeah, so the theory was that someone came in through that window in the basement at like hours before they returned, like once they left. And then just sort of like poked around until they got back and waited until they were asleep to to act, which honestly is fucking terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Like nightmare fuel, biggest fear.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I have dogs.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Then they go into were the kids sexually abused before this? Like, had this been going on for a while?
Mm-hmm.
And they interviewed JonBenet's pediatrician, and he said there's nothing, no sexual abuse going on, nothing like that. But is he allowed to talk about?
I mean, he's a mandated reporter. So
Yeah.
if there
Oh,
were
yeah. That's
suspicions,
true.
he would have had to.
He would have said
report
something.
them.
Right. So there weren't any reported. What? You're giving a look.
Well, my look is like I can appreciate that, but like I don't have a daughter, so I don't know what they do at female physicals.
Right.
How often is a 6-year-old going to the doctor? Once a year?
Once. Yeah.
Unless they're sick.
Yeah.
You know, like and if they're sick, it's not a full dress down.
No.
So like how
Yeah.
can he unequivocally just like make that claim?
That's true.
Where logically, like, you're not spending a lot of time
Yeah.
examining her
Genitalia.
genitalia. Yeah. Like, you're not spending a lot of time doing that. So,
That's true.
sure, you can say they don't because you don't think they do.
Right.
But, like...
Well, even with my kids, they're older now, but, like, when we went to go get school physicals, they're supposed to drop their pants and he's supposed to, do his thing. And the doctor was like, well, you would tell your mom if anything was wrong with your penis, right? And Preston was like, yeah. And he's like, okay, you don't need to do anything. So, like, that right there, that could have been, like, if I had done anything to my kid, that was hidden. Because he was just like, okay, I'm not going to pull down your pants.
Well, so, I mean, I will say with boys who are younger, they do check every time. Every physical.
Right, but this was, like, these are older.
Sorry,
I didn't
but,
mean...
like, JonBenet is little. So,
right.
like, at Avery's appointments...
Yeah.
Is that something they look at?
I think they've pulled down and then looked, and then just not like, well, they kind of...
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Okay. But again, like, that's, what, once a year?
Yeah. And if they don't need a shot, I don't take her for the whole next year. I don't take her unless there's something wrong with her. The lady's like, oh, you don't need a shot for age 8? Fine, I'll see you in 9. Like, I'm not going to take them. There's nothing wrong with her.
Okay. Disagree.
I know
we take my kids every year.
I know we disagree on that.
But anyways, that's what
But yeah,
that's my point is like, sure, he can say that and I can respect his opinion,
Sure.
but also like, when was her last appointment? What were the details of her last appointment?
Right.
Was it 6 months ago? Was it a year ago? Was
Yeah.
it 3 months ago? Was it a well check 3 months earlier? Yeah. And they did do a little, or was it a year ago and they didn't do that? Like, where are you basing that?
That's true.
That opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the police interview a former beauty queen, and she said that she was sexually assaulted as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And
her doctors, but nobody ever knew.
And her doctors didn't know, and she had to grow up with that, knowing that, and no one else knew.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that this happened to JonBenet, but like, she's part of the pageant life, and when you're part of that life and you're being dressed up as a little child being sexually exploited, like...
You're going to...
Am I?
I think so.
I don't know.
I did think it was interesting how that one person said, like, this is clearly, like, she grabs that saxophone and then she proceeds to, like...
Yeah, I didn't think that was...
Pump it?
Right.
No,
I didn't think that.
Like,
she was just going, like...
Yeah, like...
blowing the saxophone all over, like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't...
That was a very interesting take on, like, what she's doing.
Yeah.
And then also, like, she's still a child.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of innocence there.
She had no idea what she was doing.
Yeah, like, kids don't get that unless they're being exposed to it.
Yeah.
In inappropriate ways.
I totally agree with that. I was like, that woman is just totally making shit up.
Really, like, I was honestly, like, I scoffed. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's sexual? Like,
right.
Well, then, I don't know what you want to say about what my son does when he, like, shakes his butt all over the place and, like, air horns,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yep.
he doesn't know what that means.
No, he has no idea.
Not sexual in any way,
No.
shape, or form.
And it's not.
I thought that that was a very interesting take from that person.
Yeah, I did too. Okay. So, and then we come to the fact that did Patsy change the bedding?
Oh yeah, because the theory.
Go ahead.
The theory is that JonBenet had a potty accident,
Mm-hmm.
and Patsy was mad and overwhelmed, and
Because she was in chemo and doing all this stuff. I thought she was still in, I don't know. Still tired from being.
You know, she was an overwhelmed mom and all kinds of things, whatever. And then JonBenet had a potty accident. Patsy got angry at JonBenet. She pushed JonBenet, and JonBenet hit her head on the tile of the tub.
Mm-hmm.
And then that made her unconscious and or killed her. And then Patsy did all the things that happened to cover up her accidental death.
Which, I don't know.
I mean, it would be the first time someone covered up an accidental death.
Yeah.
But I also felt like they pointed out a lot of inconsistency in that being true. Like the fact that she was asphyxiated, and that was the cause of death.
Right. Well, they weren't sure. Like, they couldn't determine, right, which one was.
Oh, it was like both.
It was like both. They couldn't determine which one actually did it.
Did it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I don't know that one.
Well, and then it was like they never asked. They never checked if the sheets were wet.
Right. Because it looked like the bed had not been laid in, or like.
No, they said that the bed couldn't have been fresh sheets because it had a bunch of, like, it had a lot of buildup of and hair and things like that. Not like a gross amount.
Yeah.
A fresh set of sheets.
Yeah.
Set of sheets.
Yeah. Okay, so then in September 1997, we go to a grand jury trial. This is not the same as like going to trial, regular trial with jury members, right? This is the grand jury. So they have, I don't know what the difference is. I'm trying to say like I know.
No, I know.
Fuck, I don't know. It's a grand jury, whatever the fuck that means. And they never found any male with DNA. Oh, so they were looking at some other guys. Some predatory guys come into play here. I don't know which one's first. Do you remember?
Do I remember the order of them?
Yeah.
But you're skipping around.
I know. What am I skipping?
Well, the grand jury.
I know, but I thought I was going to go back to that. So they have the grand jury. The family offered to testify, but they didn't. So I don't know what's up. And then I have
Such a stupid sentence. The family offered to testify, and then they
didn't. They didn't.
Just like didn't happen.
Yes, they did say that JonBenet's parents put her in danger. And because of all of this going on with the pageants and everything, I don't know why, but and after that grand jury trial, they flew back to Atlanta to be with family.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Which is weird because like the case is still going strong and they just leave.
But the grand jury doesn't find them of anything indictable.
No.
So now I'm curious. What is a grand jury?
Yeah.
Because there were jurors.
Yeah, there were jurors. That's right.
Oh. Okay. So, a grand jury is a group of citizens who determine if there is enough evidence to charge someone with a crime.
Okay, yeah.
They also investigate local citizens and stuff.
Okay, so and they didn't find enough evidence.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Okay, so then they go back to Atlanta and they think that's kind of weird. And then Lou.
I honestly don't think that's weird either. I never thought I could say this. But like, I don't think that that's that weird.
Yeah, maybe not.
Like,
I don't know if
we
they
went through this. They, like,
we need to change the scenery to like get a
like,
peace back in our life. Yeah.
maybe I don't want to be reminded of this horrifically traumatic
Yeah.
experience day in and day out.
But I mean, this has only been like a month later. I would still think that I'd want to be in my house and find out who the fuck did this. This isn't like a couple years later.
So I don't know that being in the house changes
Sure, she's not a
whether
missing.
or not you're going to find her.
Right.
Find out what happened, right? Like the police are still investigating
Right.
behind the scenes. So like if I go to the rest of my family for support, I don't know. Like I didn't think that that was that like
No.
eyebrow raising for me.
Yeah.
You're not, but it's my opinion.
Okay. So then we start having some suspects come into place. Suspects, male suspects. One of them was Gary, and he had a sexual assault in Oregon and ended up in Boulder with a friend or something, like, I don't know, like they just moved to Boulder.
Like people do.
Like people do. And he had a picture of JonBenet on him at his time of arrest in 2002. So that's kind of weird.
Was he the homeless guy?
Uh,
Was there a homeless guy?
I don't.
Yeah, there was a homeless guy. I don't know what I can't. My brain's trying to like extract his name, but I remember he couldn't.
Yeah, it's probably because I have here. He said he would confess if he had meals and a roof over his head.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was willing to like. That was definitely me.
Right, because he wanted food and shelter. But then, like, why did he have her picture? Like, that's totally random. Why did this random dude have a picture of JonBenet?
I couldn't ever find out if it was like a magazine picture or if it was like a cool photo.
Right. Yeah,
like,
that's
that
true.
to me makes a big difference. If it's like some random. That is creepy though.
Yeah. Well, then we have a photographer that was actually the photographer of the pageant.
And JonBenet.
And JonBenet, like during her time, taking pictures of her. And in his studio, he had lots of photos of her propped up in the place. But again, his DNA was not found at the crime scene or on her, so they kind of just let him go.
He was arrested for child pornography, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then we meet John. And in North Carolina, he was charged with rape and kidnapping of a 2-year-old. He actually broke open the window to her house when they were gone, and then waited around until they got home, and then did this. So they were like, that seems weird.
No, but then they're like, oh no, it can't be him because the other one, in the other case, they didn't die.
Right. It was just a kidnapping.
It was just a rape.
Yeah, just a rape.
Well, and it was like just a rape because the parent woke up.
Yeah.
And like ran him out of the house.
Right. So it could have been a murder as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What an interesting logic.
Yeah. And so then, like,
kind of it.
That's kind of it. In June, Patsy dies.
Patsy's cancer came back.
Yeah, it came back. And, yeah, that is sad. And yeah.
Like never reached closure.
Right.
There's the guy who's like emailing.
Yeah.
That one reporter forever. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I want to talk to Patsy because like I want to tell her that like I want her forgiveness before she died.
Right.
And I think they do set up like a call.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't call.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the teacher who taught at a school in Atlanta that I think JonBenet went to. Yeah.
Maybe before they moved to Colorado.
Before they moved. Mm-hmm. Am I lying?
No, I think that's right. Yeah, that's something that I was thinking too.
And he was like seen in their garage by a neighbor.
Yeah.
Like the summer before this happened.
Yeah.
and they had no affiliation with him, but he was like running from the country because he had gotten fired. He was like a sub or something.
Yeah.
And he had like gotten fired because the parents were like, this guy's a fucking creep.
Yeah.
And so they fired him, and then he was in California and he was getting investigated for child pornography or like assaulting a minor.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And he fled to Thailand.
Yeah.
Where he was working as a teacher in Thailand. And then the Thai officials started investigating him.
Yeah.
And then he was kind of roped into the JonBenet thing.
I have one more. Bill McReynolds, who is also known as Santa Bill. He's the guy that played Santa Claus for all the kids. JonBenet gave him a tour of the house when he was at their house. And she gave him a vial of glitter that he took with him into open heart surgery for good luck. You don't remember that?
No.
Yeah.
That's fucking weird.
So, like, Bill knows the house layout, and she gave him a vial of her glitter, which he thought was good enough to take into surgery with him. Like, that is just fucking weird. So, like, but they never mentioned him having any DNA in the house. But who knows? I mean, maybe they didn't even fucking check for DNA in the house.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Surprise me.
Yeah. And then another suspect who I don't think had anything to do with it was Linda Hoffman, and that was their housekeeper. And they brought her up because she had asked for a loan. Because she
in the
was
amount of $118,000.
No, she just asked for an actual loan. And because she knew that John was getting a bonus because she cleans in his office and sees paperwork or whatever.
Well,
but
that's also just like Christmas time,
right?
Sort of assume.
Yeah. So I don't think she had any. I'm just gonna say she didn't have anything to do with this at all. So, yeah, and that's about it. So we still don't know. And
I think they make a really good point where they say like it's kind of interesting how they use DNA to rule all of these people out.
Yeah.
Except for the Ramsey family themselves.
Right. Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, okay, if you're using that as your method of like ruling out suspects, like why are you still considering them suspects?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, this made me think again, like, I don't know.
I'm honestly like, I think I don't know.
What? I don't know. I was dead on the brother, which we didn't talk about. They did have like a 9-year-old swing a flashlight against something, and he could have made that crack in her head. Like, that was a very doable thing. So I'm not saying like, but they didn't focus a lot on him. And so now I don't know, because I was for sure thinking it was probably the brother, and then the parents covered it up. But like, now I'm not so sure.
But like, I've never really understood. I also felt that way for a very long time. That was
how we connected.
But like, was there a reason why?
I don't know.
Was he jealous? Like, what was the theory behind?
Well, I could see him being jealous. I mean, Patsy gave all her attention to JonBenet. But then when you see all the videos, she's like, here's Burke, and then here's JonBenet. Like, it's very back and forth and even.
Like, I mean, but those are videos.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. You have to think of how people carefully curate their appearance outward.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I do feel empathy for them.
I do.
Because regardless of who did it, well, I guess that's not true. I don't feel like John did it. I don't know how. Like, he feels like a very...
Looking at him doing the interview, because he was the one that was being interviewed the whole time, he was a very good liar if he did it.
Correct. Like, he seems very genuine.
Yeah.
And so I have a hard time thinking that he would cover up a murder for his wife or his son.
Right.
Like, I kind of also feel like he's the type of person that has enough money where, like, you just pay people to,
To shut up. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Or pay for really good lawyers to get you out of things.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. I don't feel like he did it.
I don't think he did it either.
I don't feel like he had any part in it. Like, that's my take.
Well, I don't know, because he walked right into her where her body was. Literally walked right there.
No, I get that, but I also, like, that's weird. I think it's weird that they didn't search the whole house, but I also think that people make weird choices
That's true, especially when you're under stress.
when you're stressed.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people panic and don't know, like, what to do, especially if you're not someone who's, like, trained or works in a field like that. Like, you just sort of, like,
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't know. It made me think about it.
It made me think about things too, and I just don't know.
It has to hurt to have people bring this up
Over and over.
constantly.
Yeah. Well, because it's not been solved.
But, like, how many unsolved murders are there?
I know.
Like,
Why don't they get the same attention?
yeah. Those are dad's stories. So,
Yeah. So that's it. And again, we opened a Facebook group, so if you want to make comments or talk about cases or request cases, please comment and I will allow you in the Facebook group that Janelle's not even in. So
yes, I am.
Are you?
Bitch.
Oh. Someone actually requested to be in and I had to deny them because they were trying to do like sell their stuff to like make us better or whatever. Like, bitch, we're the best anyway.
No. I wouldn't go so far.
All right, bye. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at
The Murder Mamas.
and TikTok.
The Murder Mamas 2.
It's the number 2. And YouTube.
The Murder Mamas.
And email us at
themurdermamas@gmail.com.
Thanks.
Bye.